Hi guys, welcome to Snakes and Adders Reptile Advice, episode 63, entitled The Consternation About Classification. I touched on this a bit at the end of the red milk snake guide video we did the other day, and it's just about things that have been happening within the classification and taxonomy of certain species that have the potential to cause problems within the hobby. This may be slightly heavy for rank beginners, but I'm going to try and make it as bite-sized as possible and try and maybe help you understand why, as an experienced keeper, I struggle with it slightly. A binomial name is a name that has two parts. So let's take, for example, Python regius. Python is the genus, regius is the species. Let's take a trinomial name. This is where we have a genus, a species, and science has decided that throughout the natural range of that species there are differences, which means that we might have 2, 3, 4 different subspecies, which are then given a third name, hence the tri part of trinomial. So Boiga, Dendrophila, multicincta, Tiliqua, Gigas, evanescens. Tiliqua, so blue-tongue skinks and the shinglebacks. Gigas, the northern blue-tongue. Of the northern blue-tongue, evanescens, the Merauke, blue-tongue skink. Tiliqua, Gigas, evanescens. So this is how science breaks it down. And the hobby as an entity in the past has used these classifications to breed within that subspecies on the basis that at the time it was different and separate to other members of the species, and this could be on patternation, colour or distribution. And this has been the case since the birth of the hobby, the early days, the 60s and 70s. And hybridisation, whilst it's always taken place and there's always been morons that have done it, hasn't always been promoted and not seen as something positive to do. And for the most part, we tried to keep them in their own little pockets, or at least the people with a brain did. And it was encouraged that we would keep them to standardised characteristics or colours or definitions of what we understood that subspecies to be. And you know, one could argue that little was known about what we were working with and what we were doing. And who am I to argue with that? I'm just a pet shop owner and a snake keeper, like a lot of you guys. And I've long understood that the colubrid family, or colubrid family, however you want to pronounce it, is a melting pot of snake genera, or snake genus. And a bit like Room 101 for snakes, where science doesn't necessarily know exactly what to do with them. And this is hopefully all getting sorted out, and they're all working on it and busy doing their science boffin jobs. But therein lies a hitch. Scientists don't always agree. And then we've got the wild card element, like the Raymond Hoses of this world, where, you know, they'll just make up a bleeding name because they felt like it. My mate Daverfis Major. My dog's Ben Rex. And all hell breaks loose, and it's just crazy. And then some of that parlance that they put into it, Brockhammerus, gets recognised and taken, and you're like, holy shit, where did that come from? So this is all very confusing. Understand, everybody, whatever you keep, it has a scientific name, where there will be a genus and there will be a species. Homo sapiens. Yeah, that's the way that it works. So take, for example, in 2001, Burbrink didn't recognise Obsoleta. Now, Obsoleta means nothing to you, but Obsoleta was a complex of snakes in North America, which were the black rat snakes and its subspecies cousins, grey rats, Texas rats, Everglades rats, yellow rats, etc. And instead took groups of recognised subspecies, sort of modged them together and created 3. And case 1, Pantherophis alleganiensis, where we took the yellow rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus quadrivitatus, Everglades rat snake Pantherophis obsoletus rossellini, and a snake that was forgotten from science a year earlier by Crowther in 2000. The Florida Keys rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus decurti. Put them all together. Out comes Pantherophis alleghaniensis. So, okay, yeah, I'll get to my problems with it. It just it irritates me. After so long growing up with different things, we've got the yellows up the top, quadrivitatus yellow, born with saddles and then stripe out with time, black tongue. Everglades rat snakes, bright tangerine orange, stripe out but born with saddles. You can see on this animal here that it's just losing the definition of its saddles, stripes starting to come through. Most important about an Everglades rat, red tongue. DeKirk's rat snake. It's a shame I've not got any adult pictures, but they do not stripe out the same way, where the saddles all but disappear on these and only the faint traces can be seen. These remain saddled, yet now they're all the same snake. Bear that in mind. They're all the same snake. According to the reptile database, if we chart the changes and papers pertaining to this species, alleghaniensis, since the year 2000, there have been 7 changes. That's an average of every 2 years, 9 months. The same person that decided to truncate these and put them into alleghaniensis in 2001, whilst they were still classed in Alafe, in 2007 placed them into the genus Pituophis, which puts them in with the bull, pine and gopher snakes. That was short-lived, that was 2007. Yellow rat snakes no longer exist. Everglade rat snakes no longer exist. Florida Keys rat snakes no longer exist. The eastern half of Gulf hammock rat snakes, Pantherophis obsoletus williamsi, don't exist. They all alleghaniensis. And then what we'll also do is we'll look at maybe some of the other subspecies who kind of ran out of space. You had the Gulf hammock rat snake, so Pantherophis obsoletus williamsi, not always recognised, kind of in that is it, isn't it, DeKirk sort of section. The grey rat snake, which was Pantherophis obsoletus spiloides, and the Texas or Lindheimer's rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus lindheimeri. And the eastern half of the Texas rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus lindheimeri, and the grey rat snake and the Williams or Gulf hammocks rat snake just went, and they became the central rat snake, Pantherophis spiloides. The western half of Pantherophis obsoletus lindheimeri and the entirety of the black rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus became Pantherophis obsoletus and became the western rat snake. So for 30 years I believed that you've got a black tongue, you've got a red tongue, and your yellow, mucky yellow, and your bright orange means nothing. Science doesn't recognise any difference anymore on the basis of this paper. Yet the hobby, for 30 years, has made delineations, bred for type. In 2009, Pyron and Burbrink again, considered Mexican black king snakes, one of the most popular kings in the hobby currently, to be synonymous with Lampropeltis Getula californiae. Californian kings, which come in both striped and banded form. The proposition was, bosh, they're all now Lampropeltis californiae. They are synonymous with these, they're the same. So, since that proposal on the reptile database, there's been 7 papers. That's a paper every 1 year and 4 months since that proposal. 3 papers support its use, 4 papers deny it. The last one supported it, so it stands, and that was Himes in 2016. Mexican black king snakes, according to science, no longer exist if we work off what the latest papers say. They're Lampropeltis californiae, a synonym of the Californian king. Everyone's screaming, but I've bought the Mexican black king for 120. That's right, because it's still a Mexican black king. The hobby needs to work separately to a certain extent to ring fence things. I'll get to it. The one that broke the camel's back was what I was looking at when I was doing the red milk snake, when I was looking at taxonomy, and that was Lampropeltis polyzona, where all of these subspecies, not just 2, 3, 6 subspecies, one species, Lampropeltis polyzona. Let's just take a minute to work through these. Sinaloan milk snake, bosh bosh. Lampropeltis triangulum sinaloi. Pueblan milk snake, Lampropeltis triangulum campelli. Conant's milk snake, Lampropeltis triangulum cananti. And Nelson's milk snake, Lampropeltis triangulum nelsoni. I have never kept a Smith's milk, Lampropeltis triangulum smithi, so I can't show you a picture of that. But these are all now Lampropeltis polyzona, not Polyzona, Sinaloi, Campbelli, Arcifera, any of them. They're just Lampropeltis polyzona. No subspecific status allocated. So we've got triple wide red bands on a Sinaloan milk. We've got evenly distributed bands on a Pueblan. We've got the bullet hole or bullseye markings of the Conant's milk. Yet they're all the same species. Oh my God. So Ruane put this in 2014 and it was confirmed by Johnson in 2017. If we follow blindly and do not keep in place the subspecific status quo as preserved through the past 30 years plus, and we start to interbreed on the basis that they're all the same species, Lampropeltis polyzona, we then might end up getting kicked right in the nuts, because in a year and 4 months time, if we're sticking to the current schedule, they could be reclassified again and re-expanded up into their subspecific status. By hanging on the coattails of science with a view to putting Herpkeeper 3000 nose out of joint on a forum because you know the latest and greatest triominal name for the species that we're talking about, you could end up just muddling up animals that could very well, in a short space of time, end up being recognised once again in their original subspecific right. But we're all too busy trying to get one up on one another, which is just ridiculous. And the amount of people that love to pick at the Latin names that I use, go, oh, it's got reclassified in June 2019. Okay, yeah, no problem. Off you trot. Bet you're fun at a party. So, one thing is certain, the kerfuffle about classification is a runaway train with endless tinkering and crap going on behind the scenes. Half the time it seems as if the justification for tenure is a driver over the real need for the work. Maybe the hobby side should just hold back a bit in that regard and let the scientists do what they need to do. What they're doing is important, and it isn't to belittle it, it's to just say, you know, if we follow suit and we're immediately like, oh no, Alleghaniensis, that's what it is, that's what it is. And then in a year and 2 years, 9 months time, another paper comes out that then completely throws Alleghaniensis under the bus and decides that these three now exist again, except we've all been working towards what science is. Oh, we're just banging my Everglades into my yellows. Once they're hybridized, that's it, it's done. Take, for example, Sri Lankan pythons, which no longer exist to science. Previously, python, mollerus, pimbiora. The animals originally bred years back were of insular Sri Lankan origin. They were from the island of Sri Lanka. Fast forward to now, and they are all Indian python mix-ups, where science does not recognise pimbiora. But just because science does not recognise it, does not mean that it ceases to be an insular locality that was visually different to the mainland Indians, with these beautiful pink cheeks and rhombic and edgy triangular saddles and a ferocious temperament. And that's gone. more than likely all of those original insular forms 25, 30 years ago that were beautiful, smaller than Indians, bright pink cheeks, lovely jagged pattern, they've been not recognised now for long enough that they will have just been mixed up into Python malloris, which is the Indian, which was previously Python malloris because Burmese were in that group as well as a subspecies, and they now have their own species status, Python bivitatus. So you can see where I'm going with this. If we immediately follow suit, there is a very real risk that we lose 6 subspecies that are bred for different pattern standards within our hobby. We have people that are keeping super cool Mexican blacks that everybody's inflated the price on, that aren't worth what people are paying for them. But that said, they are now Cali Kings. Yellow rat snakes, yeah, don't exist. Everglades don't exist. We can just module these together. So it's cool. It's cool, don't worry about it, because they're all Lampropeltis polyzonus, no problem. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's a dangerous, dangerous thing to do. And while science is still undecided, which you can argue any which way you want, the facts state that every 2 years, 9 months, they're changing, and every 1 year, 4 months, they're changing. It's anything but stable, permanently shifting sands. And rather than trying to keep pace all the time and not get lost out because I don't know the latest classification, maybe just concentrate on what you accept as being a Sinaloan or what is a Pueblan. And that's good enough. And maybe in 10, 15 years, once it's changed 3, 4, 5 times, we can make a decision about what we actually think it is or isn't. I hope that was interesting. I find this stuff interesting. I find it frustrating, but it is interesting. And what they're doing and what they're changing. And then I get caught out because I haven't read the latest thing and people have a pop. But then part of me thinks, well, I don't care that you've caught me out, because a Sinaloan milk snake will always be a Sinaloan milk snake to me, whether you class it as polyzona or not, and whether it's classed that and that as the same snake, because in my mind they're not and they never will be. I hope that was interesting. See you again soon. Cheers, guys.